Welcome to another SkaredCast Battle Report. Today we have the Black Templars Space Marines versus Urian Rakarth's Coven. 1750 points, and we're playing Crusade with Hammer and Anvil deployment. So you will see the pictures of the armies as we go over, and we're going to go to deployment. It is a very elite army, saying goodbye to the old book 2, Urian Rakarth's Paint Train. We'll be back. Deployment. So I have 2 units of 5 witches with haywire grenades in venoms behind the ruins, 2 Talos with twin and liquefy guns, 10-man warrior squad with a split cannon blaster, Urian Rakarth in his raider, 10-man warrior squad with a lance blaster, 8 racks, 5 Scourge, and the Beast Pack. And in reserve I have Razorwing. And over here we have 2 Blessed Hull Land Raiders full of Black Templar Space Marines with an Emperor's Champion, a Marshal, a Chaplain, Master of Sanctity, and 2 units of 2 Typhoons with Typhoon launchers. The one objective is right here, one objective is right here, one objective is right in here. I actually put mine over here to kind of force him to stay back. And now we're going to roll to see if Dark Eldar, Urian Rakarth steals the initiative, and he does not. My Warlord trait is all my friendly units within 12 inches of Urian get to re-roll rolls of 1 to shooting to any enemy units that are within 3 inches of an objective. And the Black Templar force me to use my lowest leadership within 12 inches of his warlord, which is the Marshal. And now we'll be back after Black Templar, turn 1. The Black Templar sally forth, blew up Urian Rakarth's raider with Typhoon Fire, blew up and wrecked this raider with Typhoon Fire, but the warriors are okay. Other than that, this Land Raider Crusader opened up into said Talos and put 1 wound on him. So now we're moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 1. And it's not like fight, so we'll see what we can do. So a lot of maneuvering. I spread out a little bit. The Talos are moving up at full speed. I put 2 hull points on this Blessed Hull Land Raider with the 2 haywire blasters of the Scourge, because the lances are pretty useless. I blew up 1 land speeder with lance fire, and the other one made its jinx save, so it did not go down. And I've moved up the witches as well. And now we're moving on to Black Templars, turn 2. By the way, this is a targeting array, so targeting relay, so re-rolling ones for controlling units in shooting. And now we're moving on to Black Templar, turn 2. Stay tuned as the Zealous Crusaders will try and take on the Xenos Horde. They moved back in true Templar fashion, and then opened fire in true Templar fashion, and blew up 1 raider, and shook the other raider, so it can only snap shoot, but it can still move. And now we're moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 2. Does the Razorwing show up? It does. Razorwing showed up and immobilized 1 of the land speeders. I put another hull point on this one with the haywire blasters, and I was unable to do any other damage. Other than that, my raider immobilized itself, losing a hull point, and I'm maneuvering into position to take a charge. We'll see if he decides to get out of his land raiders this turn. The Black Templars has moved back again, and this time their shooting was a little more effective, taking out both Talos, blowing up this raider, and killing 1 of the grotesques. So now we're moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 3. We'll be back after. Finally wrecked the Land Raider. The big unit got out. I was able to kill 1 model and kill the land speeder. Other than that, the witches got out to try and charge with haywire grenades in case, but then they ran 6 inches to get into cover. And now we're moving on to Black Templar, turn 4. We'll see what happens. The Crusaders moved around, shot 4 pistols, and killed 3 witches. Yep, 3 witches. Crusader fired, killed 2 racks, and then the Multimatar failed to do anything to the Razorwing, while the 2 land speeder Typhoons on this end fired into the Venom, wrecking it and killing 2 of these Cabalite warrior squads that ran away. So now we're moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 4. I failed to kill any of the land speeders with haywires and lances from the Razorwing. I killed 1 model in shooting from that unit, but now they're moving 6 inches that way. He's going to re-roll it with Crusader Seals, and they're moving 5 inches towards my Razorwing. The haywire witches failed to kill that land raider with their haywires. They've got 1 hull point remaining. Other than that, moving on to Black Templars, turn 5. We'll be back up. Could be another game. We had the Templars jump onto this objective and shoot at the Razorwing and do nothing. The Emperor's Champion went hunting witches and killed one in combat. The land speeders decided to shoot a lot into some units and do some damage. The land raider actually tank shot the witches, very risky move because they only had 1 health point, but they failed their morale test. And they are now fleeing, and then he shot at them some more, and they are now fleeing. And then a lot of shooting into the grotesque, so 1 grotesque take a wound. And now we're moving on to Dark Eldar, turn 5. This could be the end of the game. Will the Dark Kin pull something out of their backsides? So the Dark Eldar moved up, the Haywire Blasters wrecked the Land Raider Crusader. They were forced to disembark out of their tank, and Liquefy Guns and the Casket Flensing did a number on the unit, but using the Righteous Zeal from the Chaplain, they ran that way, which is towards that one technically, so they're away. And then the Beast failed to charge, and so did Urien and the Grotesques. In other news, I failed to do any damage to that Landspeeder, but I did kill the second to last Landspeeder, and now we're seeing if it goes to turn 6. It does. We'll be back right after this. Razorwing zoomed on the board and put a hull point and stopped the speeder from firing. The Liquefy Guns took care of the 3 Crusaders that were left. The Venom shot at the Chaplain but didn't do any damage. And in shooting, I forced the Crusader squad to fall back. Well, no, they actually passed it and then they ran towards the closest unit that just happened to be the Witch, because they have to move their full distance. I'm so glad that's not happening anymore. Okay, we're gonna roll on camera to see if the game continues to turn 7. It does not. That is game. We'll count points and we'll return right after this. And the points have been tallied. I do have Linebreaker thanks to Urien and his boys. I have 2 objectives for 6 points, and he does indeed control this objective for 3 points, giving the Dark Eldar victory to the Black Templars. Dark Eldar victorious! Urien Rakath did not see any combat, but his cool war gear this game was awesome. Do you have any last comments?
Try? No, that's good game though.
Fantastic. And this is the Dork Lord's dungeon. If you haven't checked out the Dork Lord's channel, make sure you go check out their battle reports and contests and all a bunch of good stuff. Stay tuned. This is Skari out, and stay tuned for the Tactical Corner. Hello and welcome to another Tactical Corner. So, let's start with the Black Templar army. What do we see here? First of all, big thing stands out, 2 Blessed Hull Land Raiders, aka Lancers, useless. I found he spent too many points on HQ choices. But other than that, I was taking my Urien Rakath army, a little bit souped up to 1750 points. I always have a ton of fun. Now, deployment was key. Because I was going second, I couldn't allow him to take apart my force. I had to concentrate my army. I did put a flanking force out to the side of the beasts in order to, draw some attention from the Land Raider Crusader on the one flank, at least for the first turn, and it worked. He pushed forward, didn't do much damage, did knock Urien out of his ride. If not, I would have rushed him a lot faster. I pushed up very aggressively using the central hill as line of sight blocking to the second Land Raider. Now, in retaliation, he just moved back, and tactically I think this was a mistake. I feel if he would have rushed forward with all of his troops and got out, he would have actually been able to target both Talos, probably take them down in combat, and then mop up with the rest of my army after taking like a turn of shooting, overloading with 20 Marines and 3 different very heavy characters, forcing me to deal with them rather than the Crusaders, which the Scourge were able to slowly pick away at the Crusaders' hull points. With their Haywire Blasters, I didn't even really need to use my Lancers at all. Now, tactically, he should have probably targeted on my Scourge in order to negate that advantage. Sadly, he didn't. He didn't want to get too close to my Haywire Witches. I was able to provide enough threats that he, was on the back foot most of the game, reacting to the way I was playing. Now, I had placed the objectives as a cluster in his deployment zone to force him to play back and therefore mitigate the amount of damage he could do, and I could play the range game as long as I could, then jumping in late in the game to grab the objectives, which is what I ended up doing. Now, it was a fun game, a very tactical, challenging game, and a great farewell to the old Black Templar Codex.